quality paper in a reputable journal. The purpose of this event is to encourage accelerated study completion to improve academic writing skill of the postgraduate student and lecturer, especially in the context of publishing research article in international journal publisher. This year, the Faculty of Economic has set a target about 50 published research article. And by the end of October, Alhamdulillah, there are 43 articles has been published in Scopus Indexes journal publisher. This achievement is made possible by the students who have written and published their article in reputable international journal as part of their graduation requirement. We express our deepest gratitude and appreciate to Professor Zulkifli Abdul Karim, and then Associate Professor Dr. Mariani Abdul Majid from University Kebangsaan Malaysia, who have been willing to share knowledge with our participants here. Distinguished audience, this webinar is a part of a series international webinar recently initiated by FEB-UNS. And then other goal of this event are to expand global network and cooperation with researchers from university and colleagues from other countries, especially from UKM, Universitas Kebangsaan Malaysia. And then published paper written by FEB student and other writer who participate in this activity to reputable international journal. Currently, international exposure has become a special needed that must be explored by students. Through this international exposure, students may get to know the outside world better and how to write to publish their article. And finally, to close my remark, I officially open the webinar entitled "How to Publish a High Quality Paper in a Reputable Journal." And then with Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I open this event. Hopefully, this program can provide useful outcome and for academic community. And then thank you for all. Best regard for all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh. Thank you, Professor Dr. Izama Fuha, for the opening remarks and open this webinar officially. Okay, next, all right, for the next agenda, I would like to call Ms. Laila Rizky as the moderator of today's event. So, Ms. Laila is a student at Department of Master Economic and Development Studies, and also she is a research assistant at the Center for Fintech and Banking Universitas 11 Maret. Ms. Laila, are you ready?
Hi, yes, sure.
Okay, great. So without any further ado, the time is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much, Aya. So, welcome to the webinar, How to Publish a High-Quality Paper in a Reputable Journal, organized by Master of Economics and Development Studies, Universitas 11 Maret. My name is Laila Rizky Fauzia, and I will be the moderator for this session. This agenda, how to publish a high-quality paper in a reputable journal, organized by Master of Economic and Development Studies, are part of the responsibility that is carried out to be committed to produce graduates who are able to analyze and anticipate the dynamics of the development economy and business. So by holding this activity to provide papers that can be referred to by other researchers, providing accredited, comprehensive, and up-to-date scientific publication, the activity will consist of a series that we will discuss about writing in a high-quality paper, the criteria of rejected and accepted of paper, submission process in a reputable journal, and revision process. The first speaker is Prof. Zulkifli. He will present some papers published in Q1 for about 14 minutes. Professor Zulkifli Abdul Karim is a professor in economics from University Kebangsaan Malaysia. His research interests in monetary and financial economics, international finance, applied econometric, and public policy. He also is a deputy director, Center for Idea, University Kebangsaan Malaysia, and also he is an editor journal in Ekonomi Malaysia. So, hello, Prof. Zul. Are you ready to start your presentation?
Yeah, inshallah. I thought ladies first.
Okay. Oh yeah. So, I think the first speaker will be Prof. Zulkifli. Prof. Zulkifli, without further ado, time is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Moderator, Miss Lela. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good morning, everybody. Firstly, I would like to thank to organizer, Fakultas Economic and Business for inviting me. I think this is second time I have been invited to give talk online. I think last 3 years. 3 years ago, I have invited as a visiting professor at your faculty. Okay, my respected to Ibu Iza Masraha, Vice Dean, and my colleague, Assistant Professor Dr. Rani, and all participants. So allow me to share my slide first. Okay, so can you see my slide?
Sure.
Okay, all right. So the topic given to us is how to publish a high quality paper in a reputable journal. So I think this is actually a very general topic. All right, and of course, in order to publish in a reputable journal, that's not a fast track process. Okay, so of course we are as researcher, so we need to go through what I call from the beginner until our paper is accepted. All right, so of course that need us to be smart in order to organize or in order to prepare the manuscript. Okay, so I have discussed with Pak Malik, so maybe my main focus is to share my experience published in several Q1 and Q2 journal, and later on maybe I can share or give some tip lah. Okay, so the best way to start writing in any research paper. So if you target to publish in a reputable journal, of course the writing style is totally different lah. Okay, so now for sure you want to target in good, publish your research finding in good journal, right? Okay, so I inshallah I will share my experience with Dr. Mariani. Okay, all right. So before that, why you cannot move the slide? Okay, so this is just to give some motivation, not for show off. This one, the latest statistic about my publication. So far, I managed to publish, I think 11, okay, high impact publication in Web of Science, Q1, Q2, and what we call, 4 Q1 and 7 Q2 lah. This is my latest publication in high impact journal. The total impact factor is 28.98. This is total impact factor, because now we aim to target in impact factor journal, right? So in terms of scopus, alhamdulillah, so far I managed to publish 71 documents in scopus, with of course citation need to improve with your help later on. Maybe if you target to publish in scopus, so maybe you can help me to improve my citation later on, right? Cite any relevant paper in your research study, all right? And this is in Google Scholar. So alhamdulillah, I managed to publish so far 166 publication in Google. Okay, this is some statistic of my publication. Okay, so this is just to what I call to motivate you all as a young economist or young researcher. Okay, so now back to our main agenda, high quality paper. So what is the best way to prepare our high quality paper? Okay, so I can summarize. In order to write or publish very quality publication, so that's need 3 things. First, dedication, dedication plus passion plus hard work. So this is the key, the main key to success. Okay, of course, plus teamwork. Okay, so the combination between dedication, passion, hard work, and plus teamwork. So teamwork, you can set up your either your domestic or international partner, okay, to collaborate with you. We know that if we relate the football, the World Cup, for example, right? Okay, the world best all-round players, but for example, Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. Okay, both of them never won the World Cup. Okay, although they are very talented footballers in the world, right? So like a modern research, football is about the teamwork. The same thing with the writing the research paper. So teamwork plays very significant. Okay, we cannot work as a silo. Okay, so this is the motivation. All right, so that's the general overview, just to motivate you all. Okay, now, so let me define a bit because we need to know the definition of reputable journal versus predatory journal. Of course, our target to publish in reputable journal, try to avoid publish in predatory journal. So the definition of the standard definition of reputable journal refer to the established by a respected academic to serve an unfilled need. I just bold the main point there. The journal must be clearly and accurately state the membership of its editorial board, and the board should comprise academic with expertise to understand and evaluate the papers. So there are several keywords there. Established by a respected academic, clearly and accurately state the membership of editorial board, academic with the expertise, and there is a what we call the standard or blind reviewing process. Not look like predatory journal. Okay, predatory journal do not apply a standardized peer review process. So may not send your paper to the peer review. Okay, and publish a high number of low quality papers, and more likely to publish big or hope papers. So we can check the predatory journal if you go to the bell list. Okay, so you can check. So the idea is before you submit to any journal, please make sure you submit to the reputable journal. Okay, don't submit to the predatory journal. The what I call the characteristic for the predatory journal is very simple. You submit the journal within 24 hours. Okay, they will email you. Oh, now your paper already accepted. Okay. However, okay, you need to pay our publication fee, blah 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 blah, without give us the reviewing, the report from reviewer. Okay, so better to avoid. This is unethical, Okay. All right. So according to some definition, this one I just want to highlight the concept of high impact publication, or I use short form HIP, because that reflects to the high quality paper. Okay, if you have very high quality paper, so there is a big chances to publish in high impact journal. Okay, so okay, let me look at the definition one. So high impact publication or papers are published in top 25 of the journal category, which is indexed by the Journal Citation Report, or GCR. So this one according to Web of Science definition, or Clarivate Analytics. Okay, the second definition, so maybe this is what we call very standard. The second definition is the quite objective, which refers to any journal with high impact factor. Okay, for example, more than 5. Even its rank Q2 top 50% in the category or less. Okay, so maybe science and social science, they are different, because for the science, normally their impact factor is very high, not social science, right? For example, nature, the impact factor is more than 30. Okay, so different with the social science. Okay, so the impact factor refers to the journal, not to an article in that journal. So for sure, if we publish in high impact journal, let's say index in WAS, okay, or Scopus, they will give the impact factor for the journal. Q1, for example, until Q4. So in Malaysian experience, MOHE stands for Malaysia Ministry of Higher Education in Malaysia. So we define high impact publication if researchers publish in top 1% and top 10% journal in the specific category. Yeah? So that under JCR, General Citation Report, top 1% and top 10%. Okay. However, at UKM, so we define high impact publication as long as our researchers manage to publish in Q1 and Q2. Index in WAS. So at UKM, we not count impact factor in Scopus. At UKM and the whole university in Malaysia, so impact factor journal normally focus on impact factor, which is indexed by Web of Science or Clarivate Analytics. Compared with Indonesia, right? Indonesia use Scopus. Okay. All right. Okay. So when we define the reputable journal, normally it reflects to citation index journal. Okay, CIJ we call it, or impact factor journal. So far we have two CIJ, which is Scopus, owned by Elsevier, UK based, and the second one is Clarivate Analytics, which is Web of Science, that US based. So for example, Indonesia use Scopus, so meaning that you follow UK based lah. For the Malaysian, we follow Web of Science in what we call set the benchmark lah. I mean the impact factor journal. Okay, so Scopus in Web of Science, they will rank the quality of the journal according to impact factor Q1, Q2 until Q4 lah. That same. So, however, the impact factor is different lah under both indexing. Okay, instead of publish in Scopus of or Web of Science, we also can consider other index which is considered reputable journal, but they are not indexed in Scopus and Clarivate. Okay, for example, ERA, excellent for research for Australia, ERA. Okay, or emerging sources citation index. This is actually under Web of Science lah, but this is not impact factor journal, right? Okay, emerging sources citation index, or ABDC, Australian Business Dean Council. This presenting for Australia, or maybe reputable journal index at domestic level. For example, in Malaysia, we have Malaysian Citation Index. Indonesia, as you mentioned, you have what? Last time Indosite. I don't know, maybe now change. I don't know. So but last time Indosite, but Malaysia, we have Malaysian Citation Index. At Asian, we have Asian Citation Index. Okay, this is an example of reputable journal. But if we aim to publish in CIJ, Citation Index Journal, so we should publish either one lah, index in Scopus or Web of Science. Okay, and that we call the very what I call renowned publication lah, if we publish in that publisher. Okay, this is example of my publication, my experience published in high quality journal. So maybe later on you can challenge yourself, try to penetrate this journal. For example, final research letters. So this is index in WAS and Scopus. Both rank Q1. Q1 impact factor is different, you see. Okay, under WAS impact factor is 5.596. Under Scopus impact factor 1.34 according to SJR. Okay, the one is technological and economic development of economy. So WAS Q1, Scopus Q2. Economic research, okay, the same rank, either WAS and Scopus. Q2, sustainability, okay, WAS rank Q2, Scopus rank Q1, okay, and International Journal of Finance and Economics, both index, both Scopus and WAS rank Q2. Okay, this is example of high impact publication in very high what I call rank. Okay, another example is Q3 and Q4 paper index in Web of Science and Scopus. Okay, this is another potential journal you can try to challenge your skill. Asia Pacific, Journal of Asia Pacific Economy, now Q3, Global Economic Review, Q3, Singapore Economic Review. This is the only economic journal in Southeast Asian right, region, which is index in Web of Science, Q3, the Singapore Economic Review. Okay, the rest is European Review, Q4. Okay, this is example of Q3, Q4 journal. All right. Okay, in Malaysia, Indonesia, for sure you know this journal, International of Gajah Mada, Gajah Mada International Journal of Business. This, I think this is from Gajah Mada University. This is index in Scopus, index Scopus, I think Q3. Okay, Journal Economy. Okay, now we also index in Scopus, but now reduce our rank now reduced to Q4. Last time we rank Q3 in Scopus. Journal Pengurusan, okay, Asian Academy Management Journal, and Asian Academy of Management Journal of Accounting and Finance, and this one International Business and Society. This is the Asian journal, which is ranked or index in Scopus, in which you can try to penetrate this journal. All right. Okay, this is my experience. I will share with you later on. So this is final research letters, Q1 under both indexing, which is in finance top 5%. Okay, so now Alhamdulillah, I managed to publish 3 articles in finance research letters. Okay, so later on you can just open my Google Scholar. Okay, then just click if you're interested to read the paper. All right. Okay, so this one I just go through. Later on, if you're interested, you can go to my Google Scholar and just click the link. Okay, I want to share with you my experience published in finance research letters. We know that under Elsevier, there is a finance research or finance journal ecosystem. I don't know whether you're familiar or not. There are 9 journals under finance journal ecosystem. Okay, which is all of them, they are very reputable journal. Okay, some index in Q1, Q2. Okay, for example, finance research letters Q1. Okay, the same thing, International Review of Economic and Finance, Interview of Financial Analysis. Okay, the same thing, another journal. Okay, some maybe still under, still not index. There is no impact factor. For example, Journal of Behavior and Experimental Finance, there is no impact factor, but this journal index was under Web of Science Emerging Sources Citation Index. Okay, the others, they have impact factor, some Q1 and Q2 and some Q3. This is the big chances. Okay, for those specializing in finance. Actually, not only finance. This journal also accept all kind of economic issue, but of course the main theme is reflect to any finance issue. All right. Okay, so how to prepare the manuscript? So I will share my experience for finance research letters, since I already managed to publish 3 articles at that journal. So this is, we consider very short research paper. Okay, which is if you have skill to write short paper, which is fewer than 2,600 words. Okay, this is I call the good opportunity for you. Try to penetrate this journal. Okay, because the abstract limit is 100 word introduction. Okay, so we putting together the literature review is embedded introduction. Okay, issue, motivation, objective, contribution, and literature review. So that include under introduction section. Later on, you need to explain data description. Okay, define your data. Maybe you can provide some descriptive statistic and explain the research design or method. Later on, you need to interpret the result. Result in discussion. Explain some robustness check. Of course, you need to give some conclusion and how your finding can suggest some policy implication, for example. Okay, so this journal also need outer statement, declaration of competing interest, acknowledgement, appendix, and references. So maybe some quite similar with other journals. But this is very what we call scientific article, which is fewer than 2,600. However, if you no skill to write short paper, you can consider another journal, which is they need more than 8,000 words, for example, right? Okay, for example, Journal of International Financial Market Institutional Money. This is very long journal. I mean, this journal need more than, I think, 10,000 words. Below than 10,000, the journal will reject our paper because the nature of the journal is different, right? Okay, so we need to check the nature of the journal before submission. Okay, so I want to share with you only one paper. Okay, later on I can share the paper with Ella. I will email to Ella later on. Okay, does financial inclusiveness impact economic growth? New evidence using dynamic panel threshold irrigation. So this one just published online. Okay, actually this is long article. So why I highlight this? Because actually I want to relate. In order to publish the good journal, so that need us to be patient, right? Okay, need us to be patient, dedicate, hard work. The three things is very important. Okay, so according to my experience, actually not easy when we wrote the paper. Okay, not guarantee our paper will be accepted when we submit, right? So this is what we're going to I mean the process, okay, for everybody. So my experience, first this article is a long word, okay, more than 8,000 words. So I need 4 months to prepare the manuscript, okay, check many times, maybe rewrite more than 10 times. So we need to allocate more time to prepare very quality manuscript. Okay, so I submit to economic modeling. So economic modeling is Q2, right? However, rejected. So we know that under Elsevier, they charge submission fee. So for this, I paid USD $125 submission fee, but this journal reject. So the reason because the similarity index. Okay, so maybe this is my mistake because I not check the similarity index. So the similarity index is 20%, but this journal cannot accept because their tolerance level is, I think, fewer than 10%. So now they reject because I think the similarity index for this paper, I think 21%, something like that. Okay, so later on, so okay, now I gone lah. This is sunk cost. I call it sunk cost, sunk cost to me. Okay, so later on I submit to Pacific Basin Journal. This is Q1. It's rejected. Why? So according to editor, only the papers that address issue related to Asian market or firm. Okay, so meaning that, so maybe this is my mistake because I not check the journal team. Okay, because this one focus on Asian market only, right? Or firm level. Okay, my paper focus on cross countries comparison, world view. Okay, not what I call suit with Pacific Basin sub team. Okay, so not in line with general scope, depth rejection. Of course, I need to pay $175 the submission fee. Okay, so I am patient. Although the two journals rejected, so we need to be patient. Try to another journal. Okay, so later on, I decide to submit to Journal of International Financial Market Institutional Money, Q2. This is under what I call Elsevier finance ecosystem. But there's rejection because length of article too short. So this journal required more than 12,000 words onwards. For those who are very familiar or you have skill, write very long paper, you can consider this. Okay, so this one, interestingly, this journal offer me, we call the transfer package because this is under ecosystem. That helped me. Otherwise, 150 is gone, another sunk cost to me, right? So since this journal is rejected, so they suggest me to transfer to another journal which is under finance ecosystem without bear another cost to me, right? Okay, so now I decided, okay, to what I call transfer to finance research letters. And we know that from 8,000, I need to reduce because finance research letters, the maximum limit cannot more than 2,600, right? So can you imagine from 8,000 word, we need to make it shorter the paper, okay, to below than 2,800 words. Okay, so now altogether that cost me $450 just for submission fee, right? Okay, so now our next task is manuscript preparation from long article, 8,000 word to short article. Okay, 2,500 actually, not 400. Okay, so that need us 4 weeks to prepare the first draft. Okay, so with passion, with dedication, this is the two elements to success to publish in a high quality journal. So we read it, revise accordingly. I have a team here, Prof. Lau from UPM, Prof. Kabi Hassan, so very, what we call, very strong research team. So from time to time, we sitting together, meeting online, try to finalize. I think when we what you call, we believe that this is okay, the manuscript is okay, or they meet the high quality paper. So later on, I submit. Okay. So this one, of course, we are not a native speakers. Okay, so that need us to check the grammar, stand to proofread. This is another cost to us lah. Okay, but this paper is very short, 2,500 word. I managed to do myself, but I what you call subscribe Grammarly premium software that can help us to check any grammatical error, whatever. So I think this is another thing we can consider to make sure our draft is meet the standard. Otherwise, they will reject because wow, the language or grammar error. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so I submit online 22nd May and got the report from 3 reviewers on 16 June. So all give minor correction. So later on we sitting together again, try to respond all the comment or suggestion. Okay, later on if we manage to what you call address all the comment and submit the revised version on 13 June and 27 July. So we receive the notification from the journal. So they are what you call happy lah. All right, or satisfied. All reviewers have satisfied. Okay, the way we respond their comment or their suggestion. Of course lah, the next process they will give us the proofread version. We need to check. Okay, if you want to change online. Okay, so this is the time lah. And later on the article is published online. Okay, so this is the story lah. I want to relate. In order to publish high quality journal, it's not easy. This is the process, right? Continuous process. And this continuous process actually train us, okay, to be more competent. As a researcher, we know that, oh, according to the previous experience, why this journal reject my paper, they give the feedback. So that is our learning curve, right? Our learning process, which is in future that help us, okay, to produce very quality manuscript. Okay, so we know that in research and publication, Ella, may I know how long I have the time? Hello, Ella?
Hello?
Yes.
10 minutes.
10 minutes more.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So this is the step. In any research publication, we start with read, okay, write, discuss, present, submit, and maybe there we start again until our paper is published. Okay, read. So we need, as a researcher, we need to read many, of course, many journal article. Okay, because we need to identify the gap in the literature review. Okay, so right. Okay, later on, if you already know the gap of the literature, so that start. You can start write the paper. Okay, so of course we need the data, right? I think everybody is know lah. Okay, so the keyword here is passion lah. Okay, if you see this circle, read, write, discuss, present, submit, and maybe that we repeat again. So that we need, as a researcher, we need to be patient. Okay, because our aim to produce high quality paper, right? Okay, all scholarly papers share common component. I think this is everybody know. Okay, so maybe some researchers claim that review of literature is number one. what we need to do, right? We study the previous literature first. Okay, from literature, later on we write the introduction, identify the problem statement, the novelty of the study. Later on, empirical methodology, right? Maybe number 3, try to relate the data ability. Okay, what method you want to explore? Okay, this the standard among the scholars. All right. So for sure, journal article content, either index in Scopus and WAS or any reputable journal. So that is the standard. The title of the paper, you need to write the abstract according to journal requirement. So in average 150 to 200 words. Try to get the keyword or GL code. Of course, you start with introduction, literature survey, or theoretical, okay, methodology, or research design, empirical finding, or calibration or simulation, depend on your expertise. Okay. Summary and conclusion. Also, this is very important as well. Summary, the new finding and suggestion for the policy and future research. Okay, this is general what I call contents for any reputable journal. Okay. All right. I will give you some tip for thesis or scholarly journal article. What you need to do is, okay, as a researcher, first you identify the title of the paper. Okay. So try to write a good or short abstract first. Although you haven't done the regression model or whatever, okay, try to imagine what you want to achieve from this paper. Try to write your imaginary, we call it, abstract. Okay. Then you decide either you want to write theoretical or empirical research. Okay, so they're a bit different lah. The way we write empirical or theoretical research. Data collection, you need to decide either your data is secondary or primary. Okay, secondary data, either you want to use time series, panel data, or cross section. Either the data is representing countries, firm, individual, or household. Primary data, either you want to survey. Okay, then you need to master some statistical tool. EBUs or whatever lah, EBUs Stata for the master student. At least you very familiar to use at least 3 software, not only EBUs. Okay, EBUs is very simple software, right? Okay, EBUs Stata, GMLT. Maybe you want to challenge yourself using programming software like REDS, Gauss, okay, Amos, whatever lah. Okay, and of course, as a researcher, we need to strengthening the research methodology or theory. So you need to know the recent econometric analysis. If you use secondary data, the recent time series technique, the recent panel data technique. If you use theoretical analysis, the latest, the recent theoretical analysis, you can consider CGE, for example. This is very interesting for those who are explore the theoretical aspect. Okay, in studying the economic theory. CGE, DGCE, simulation, system dynamic, okay, wavelet. This is more theoretical analysis. Now, of course, we need to interpret the main finding discussion, and of course, in conclusion, so we need to relate some policy. Okay, so element of good research, of course, that start with introduction. You need to have very solid research objective, the motivation, okay, what motivate you to study. And interesting, I think the main aspect here is contribution and gap. Because some paper, according to my experience, got rejection because the reviewer not happy with the contribution of the study. If we just replicate the issue, some journal did not accept because this is already well-established issue, already huge number of study about this issue. So maybe in terms of contribution is very small, very minor. And we got rejection, right? So make sure we have very solid contribution of the paper. Okay, so the method, of course, you need to add par. Try to use very recent method as long as the method can, can be used to achieve your research objective. And you need to, as a researcher, you need to justify the selection of the methodology. And of course, we need to write properly equation by equation. Okay, that's method. Okay, literature review already discussed before. So of course we need to have very solid literature review, because most of the maybe student did not actually not conduct the proper literature review, because they just summarize what the previous study said about the subject matter. You just summarize paragraph 1 CA blah 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 blah, later on second paragraph CB blah 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 blah. That's not the right way, all right, to write the literature review, because our job to conduct literature review, first to give credit to the previous researchers. Okay, so the best way we organize the idea, right? We organize what is the empirical debate about the subject matter. Okay, so we organize the idea accordingly. Later on, we identify the gap. This is very important, right? What is the gap of the previous literature that need us to explore this issue? Okay, the result. Okay, that need us to what you call provide very what you call maybe systematic way lah. The data, because last time researchers just copy paste, for example, right? So he used EBIOS or Stata. So the researcher just copy paste the result from EBIOS and transfer to Word and send to the to any journal lah. This is element lazy. Okay, so never do that. So we as a researchers, our responsibility is try to provide very solid, okay, table, for example, right? If your regression result, you want to present it in table, provide very beautiful table. Okay, never just copy paste. So that give bad impression lah. If we just copy paste from any software, from EBIOS or Stata. All right. So as I mentioned before, novelty or contribution of the study, that's very important to publish in very high quality journal, because now if the blind reviewer skimming our paper and found that the novelty is not interesting, there is nothing new about this paper, so later on with maybe at death rejection as well. Maybe our paper not what you call, they will not submit to blind reviewer. Maybe got rejection at desk reviewing. Okay, desk reviewing reject because he found that if these papers submit to the blind reviewer, the chances to be rejected is very high, because there is nothing new, there is no novelty. So our job is try to convince the reviewers, okay, this paper or this research can contribute significantly, or there is a unique or in terms of contribution. So you need to explain lah, in terms of policy, for example, right? So how your study relevant to the stakeholders, which is these stakeholders can take leverage from this study. The body of knowledge, you need to convince the reader how your study extending the current literature. Why you need to extend the current literature, and what way you want to extend it. The same thing you want to improve, for example, right? Okay, this paper improve the current literature in following ways. You explain one blah 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 in systematic way, and of course you need to explain why you need to improve that. Okay, is that something wrong with the previous finding that what you call need you to explore? So that need to be to write clearly. So of course you need to explain clearly how your study differed from the previous work, comparing with other people work in the field. So if you write the separate paragraph in introduction, okay, that justify the novelty or contribution, so maybe the chances your article to be reviewed is very high lah. And then just wait, okay. Otherwise, maybe got rejection at desk reviewing, right? Okay, so in terms of novelty of the study, of course, difficult tasks and come more easier with experience. Okay, so you need to what you call consider this is reading part of your daily activities. You need to read a lot of paper, journal article, the recent study, comparing it with other work in the field. Okay, of course, you need to conduct an exhaustive literature search. Okay, compare the research question, methodology, and result, adapted on the new development in the field, and reading the existing and new systematic literature. This is what we need to do. The novelty of the study. Of course, this is theoretical, right? In reality, maybe many researchers did not follow this style. Okay, so this is just what we call the good practice lah. Okay, the best way to identify the novelty of the study. The contribution, I think I can skip. This is example lah. This example in my paper, the way we elaborate the contribution. So this is in separate paragraph. You need to write. Okay, after you already explain the motivation, research question or the study, then in separate paragraph, you need to write how your paper contribute. Okay, for example, in my paper, this present study contribute to the new measurement of the financial inclusion, because according to literature survey, there is for example, we construct financial inclusion index. So based on our literature survey, we conclude that okay, we can contribute to the new measurement compared with the previous. So we need to explain lah. Okay, new in terms of what? Okay, why we need to construct the new index? So we need to what you call criticize the previous index. So maybe the previous index not accurate to representing the overall financial inclusion. So this our contribution in terms of we improve, okay, the construction of index, the old measurement index, blah blah blah. So that is our job lah. Of course, we need to cite with some paper. Okay, this is the best way to what you call justify the novelty of the study in introduction. So another example, this paper contribute to policy making in existing growth empiric literature. This is another contribution. You need to explain, for example, the policymakers or the stakeholders, how they can take leverage from our finding. You need to justify. Okay, so meaning that we need to reorganize the novelty or the contribution of the study. So how we call the potential or the blind reviewer, if they read our paper, so we already organize their contribution. So maybe when this skimming or go through our paper, so they are happy because we organize it accordingly. Yeah, this is the tip lah, according to my experience. Okay, so some tip here. Check the existing study. For sure, you need to check the Google Scholar, ResearchGate, okay, or scholarly journal. Yeah, identify some relevant papers. Read, summarize it in the table if you have time. Okay, depend on your skill lah. Get some survey or literature. You can get it from Journal of Economic Survey or SAPSP Economic Literature, which is journal specializing in survey. So maybe we want to study this issue. However, we found that there is another what we call one study already published in the literature, in the journal. I mean the literature journal lah. So that help us lah to easily identify the gap. Okay, follow a high quality article. So we can imitate very high quality article, but not you plagiate one by one. So we imitate the writing style, the way the authors wrote the introduction, literature review. So we follow the style. Okay, that advantage lah. Okay, so I have mentioned to you literature review. Don't summarize literature review. Organize the idea accordingly. Of course, our job in literature review is identify the gap. And of course, we need to explain the innovation. So meaning that gap of literature need to be, we need separate paragraph lah. You need to have separate paragraph to explain the gap of the literature. After you already organize all kind of literature, so our job is try to fill the gap. Okay, so this one I can skip. How long I have, Ella? 5 minutes?
Yes, it's okay for 5 minutes.
Okay, all right. Okay, research design. This one just I give general overview. Okay, for detail maybe next round lah. So in terms of research design or methodology, so we need to explain the baseline model, the selection of the model. Make sure if you wrote any equation, make sure 100% correct. Okay, never use what you call Microsoft. Some researchers are very lazy. They not use equation editor. So their equation is what you call very bad lah, right? So if you use the equation editor, so that will give very beautiful your model, for example, right? So my idea is please use equation editor. So we need to check, okay, in detail lah the equation. you write correctly or not. Because some blind reviewer, according to my experience, they are very strict. If, for example, our subscript, okay, IT, for example, so they will check, okay, in detail. So make sure we write equation accordingly and check, okay, again and again until you satisfy 100%. So there is no error for your equation. Okay, so the same thing for expected sign. So you need to explain. For example, you already write your model or your baseline model. Later on, you need to explain the expected sign. Okay, according to the economic theory. So this one challenge the researchers try to integrate. Okay, according to the standard economic theory. Okay, the economic theory can truly explain, okay, the issue or not. So this is our job lah. And econometric model estimation procedure. So this is depend on your skill. Okay, you want to use, and of course your data lah. Depend on your data. Either you want to use cross-section model, time series, or panel data. Okay, if you use econometric framework, so your econometric skill should at par. Okay, at par meaning that you need to what you call update the recent econometric technique. Okay, never use simple regression. If you aim to publish in, for example, Q1, Q2 journal, the standard regression technique, I think in general will be rejected because now we are moving forward. We have the recent or advanced econometric tool. Okay, so we as a researcher, we need to update our knowledge in terms of econometric tools. All right, the data and explanation. I think this is what I call some journal required us to write a bit the data and explain in table lah. All right. Okay, so research methodology, of course, that what I call learning process. Okay, so for sure, you are the beginner in this field. For sure, you need more time lah to explore that. Okay, so maybe you need to invest if you think that you are still not competent enough the understanding the methodology. So maybe you need to invest. Try to join workshop, for example, right? Okay, until you consider expert in that we call methodology. Okay, data. I think this is very simple. You need to explain the type of data. Better you provide in table, so that help examiner or the reviewer to understand your data accordingly, and provide descriptive statistic. Because many researchers, they provide descriptive statistic in finding, right? But now many journals need data, okay, or descriptive statistic. We explain it in data. So that give us the early what I call information about the structure of the data, right? Mean, median, kurtosis, or whatever. So put in under section 3 lah, under data. Don't put under your main finding. Methodology, so that tell how this methodology help us accomplish the key objective of the paper. Okay, so you need to use the right methodology. All right, for sure, this methodology, okay, can achieve the early stated objective. All right, so meaning that we try to mapping. Okay, this methodology can achieve the main objective what we have discussed in the introduction. Okay, so identify the key hypothesis to be tested. Explain the empirical procedure in enough detail that somewhat could replicate our work. So meaning that we provide very solid, okay, the baseline model, key hypothesis, or maybe in future someone will what I call consider our paper and cite our work. Okay, so that advantage to us if someone cite our work, so that we improve our 3R element, right? Respected, relevant, and referred in future. Okay, so some tip to write good methodology: mapping with research objective, numbering all equation accordingly, use equation editor. Okay, explain all notation in the equation, explain the expected sign according to economic theory, use recent methodology, update the knowledge in econometric field, double check all related equation, and follow methodology from previous study. This is some tip lah. If you follow this, inshallah, okay, the examiner will happy lah, your methodology part. Example methodology. So this one for time series analysis. This one I list down the potential method you can consider according to your research objective. Conjugation, issue of symmetric versus asymmetric, symmetric conjugation, angle, Granger, Johansson, LDL. Asymmetric conjugation, you can consider nonlinear IDL or threshold autoligation or TAR, BCM and causality. Okay, LDL. Now we are moving to nonlinear IDL. The previous study focused on linear, but because now economic system very complex, we cannot rely that everything is, economic variable is moved in linear form. Okay, so maybe some variable or economic variable or finance variable, they are moving according to non-linear form. So we can consider the non-linear rather than linear. Structure bar, okay, structure BCM, if we concern the issue of conjugation using structure form. Volatility model, arch, gush, T-gush, univariate versus multivariate model. Now we are moving forward to threshold regression. There is that considered nonlinear regression, threshold regression, or bootstrap. This is very common now. Bootstrapping and wavelet analysis. This is the recent. So that gives us what we call highest chances, okay, to penetrate the high quality journal. If our methodology at par, our methodology at we use the recent methodology. Panel data analysis, you can consider static panel, okay, or dynamic panel, the advanced panel, okay. Dynamic heterogeneous panel depend on the nature of the data. Now we're moving forward to panel bar, panel structure bar, panel static threshold, or panel dynamic threshold. This is example of panel data analysis, which is advanced method. If we use this advanced method, believe me, the chances to publish in Q1 and Q2 is very high. All right. If you use primary data, which is survey or questionnaire data, you can consider the structure equation modeling, partial least square, logistic regression, logic probit analysis, or cross-section analysis. This is the selection of, my idea is the selection of methodology is the key. Okay. The key, either our paper will be accepted or not in reputable journal. All right. Empirical result. Okay, I think you need to summarize the main finding in the table, explain the main finding, coefficient and sign, and of course, robustness checking is mandatory. If you don't have robustness checking, so for sure, if your paper is passed at blind reviewing, so normally they will suggest you to conduct the robustness test. That's common. Okay, some tip to write good empirical work. Summarize the main coefficient in table. You need to write a coefficient, p-value, t-test, numbering all table accordingly, and put some note under the table, asterisk, 3-star, whatever. Explain dependent and independent. That help reader understand your model. Okay. Explain the main finding, new finding according to the issue, problem, statement, and research objective. And coefficient normally use up to 3 decimal point. Never provide up to sometimes 7 decimal point. Right? So the standard is up to 3 decimal point, and explain it accordingly. The sign, significant, and its meaning. Of course, robustness checking, as I mentioned. Okay. Do not copy paste. This is, I think, that I mentioned before. Do not copy paste the result from any software. For example, Abuse or Stata to your paper. Okay, so make our own table. So make sure our table is very, what I call, systematic and beautiful. Okay, this is example of robustness checking. We need to explain for robustness checking. So what we have done to make sure our baseline result in general, they are robust according to various specification. So we need to explain the reader, okay, what we have done. Okay, conclusion and policy. Of course, we need to summary all issue, objective, methodology. Explain, this is very important. Explain the new finding. What is new about our study? Okay, and from this new finding, how this reflect to some policy implication or relevant policy. we need to explain. Okay, so in this case, we need to mapping. We need to mapping our policy implication with the new finding. Never speculate. Okay, never speculate your policy implication. Okay, some researchers just speculate and they not relate their policy with the main finding. Okay, so the policy should be consistent with the main finding. All right, and of course, some journal need us to suggest the future direction of the research. Okay, some journal not required. Okay, so I think better to have better to consider suggestion for the future research. All right. Okay, so this is just general overview because I cannot go in deep due to the time constraint. All right, so I hope that gives you some idea how to start with your research paper, in particular to penetrate the reputable journal. All right. Okay, so maybe after Dr. Mani, I open for Q&A session. So thank you for listening. I return back to Miss Moderator, Miss Leila.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Professor, for the insightful material. So we will move to the next speaker, Dr. Mariani Dr. Mariani Abdul Majid. Dr. Mariani Abdul Majid is an associate professor in the Sustainable and Inclusive Development Center, Faculty of Economics and Management, University Kebangsaan Malaysia. She received both her Bachelor of Economics and Master of Economics from International Islamic University, Malaysia. She obtained her PhD from Aston University, United Kingdom. Her research and teaching experience is mainly in Islamic banking and finance, financial economics, and microeconomics. Many of her papers have been published in referred academic journals such as Ekonomi, Islamic Economic Studies, Journal of Productivity Analysis, Research in International Business and Finance, Pacific Basin Finance Journal, and Service Industrial Journal. Dr. Mariani will explain how to submit a paper in Journal Ekonomi Malaysia, review process, and why a paper is rejected for about 40 minutes. So, Dr. Mariani, without further ado, time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Laila. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I would like to thank the organizer, the faculty, particularly the Master's Program in Economics and Development Studies, Universitas 11 Maret, for inviting me to share my experience. Let me share my slides now. Can you see my screen?
Sure, Doctor.
All right. Why journal publications? Basically, it's for learning, teaching, sharing, contribution to the knowledge, promotion, and research grant. For universities or research institutions, it contributes to institution key economic performance indicator, responsibility of an academic, and criterion for career advancement. But for students, it could be due to the fulfilling the requirements for the graduation. Therefore, scholars should be able to prepare manuscript for submission to peer review journals, identify important steps in publishing, search for the right journal for submission, publish papers in citation index journal indexed by Scopus or Web of Science, write a response to reviewers' report. Why articles are being rejected? It could be due to the contribution to the knowledge is not sufficiently large. The conceptual framework is not well developed. The theoretical motivation for the mentioned hypothesis is weak. Seriously flawed methodology, or the writing style It could be due to the improper structure or disorganized. Okay, some of these has been mentioned by Prof. Zulkifli. So the basic article structure is the title, authors, abstract, keywords, introduction, literature review, methodology, results and discussions, conclusions, acknowledgement and references. Some researchers prefer to start with literature review first, followed by the introduction, methodology, result and discussion, conclusions, abstracts and title. So it depends on the researcher. The alternative structure, depending on journal that you wish to submit, start with introduction, background, data and methods, results and conclusion. This has been explained by Prof. Zulkifli also, so I can skip this slide. So in writing the introduction, we need to understand the purpose of introduction. It is to sell the research, to provide reader a glimpse of what to come, showcase the article. Important points in introduction. First, the statement of study topic, the issues or importance of study from academic and practice, summary of literature, controversies, gap and inconsistencies, and finally the objective. Now we go to the statement of study topic. First, you need to identify your research topic or broad theme. I have given here an example. The first sentence here identify the research topic or the broad theme. Here, the literature has long identified the role of entrepreneurship in enhancing innovation. So entrepreneurship here explicitly mentioned as the research topic. Then you identify issues within the topics. So the rest of the paragraph here is identifying issues within the topic. And then how are you going to address that issue? So you need to mention here, for example, in this paper, we bring together quantitative and qualitative data to address ECF growth and evolution through the experiences of entrepreneurs and investors engaged in equity crowdfunding. So this is an example of how you are going to address the issues discussed above. The tips here, do not use technical jargon. Okay, second is the academic and practical importance. For the academic importance, you highlight the controversies and the gaps. If you can see here, the red color is the controversies and the gaps, followed by sentence that highlight the lack of previous research. And then the practical importance, the next paragraph is example for the quotation for relevant industry statistics. We show that shadow bank market share in mortgage origination has nearly doubled from roughly 30% in 2007 to 50% in 2015. This is an example of quote relevant industry statistics. Then you specify the industry problem. What is the problem with the industry? The third one is the third, fourth, and fifth is the summary of literature, gaps, and objective. Concise review of literature aiming at highlighting the gaps or inconsistency. So this is the first few sentences here. Review of literature aiming at highlighting the gaps and inconsistencies. Okay, and then you explicitly mention the specific gap and contributions, and followed by specific research objective, review, methodology, and findings. For example, the blue color here, there are three key differences to the latter. First, our agents are infinitely live life allowing for the possibility of speculative holdings of the currency. So you can see here the author mentioned explicitly first, second, and third. What are the specific gap and the contribution? Note that number 5 may appear before number 3 and number 4. Okay, for the contributions, it could be in terms of the test untested relationship, develop additional theoretical links, improve theoretical rationale of existing relationship, contribute to existing debate, new theoretical model, or unique data set. Do note also that you need to respect previous publications by not ignoring part or all previous publication, overestimate novelty of your contribution, do not provide dismissive statement such as avoiding negative words. Okay, I provide here the example that have been submitted to Journal Ekonomi Malaysia. The introduction here, the reviewer's comment from this introduction is unclear problem statement and research questions. So you need to be clear of the problem, the issues in the first few sentences. Another example is the right hand side is the reviewer's comment, yeah. The left hand side is the article that have been submitted. Okay, the reviewer's comment here is on the contribution of the paper, it is important to elaborate the current state of the related literature and mention how the research contribute to each area. What are the studies that have been done on bank efficiency and liquidity risk? This paper is on the efficiency and liquidity risk. How the current research reduce the gap? How about studies on output efficiency and measures using SFA? What has been done on the liquidity risk measures such as LCR and SFR? This paper use LCR and SFR, but it's not mentioned what has been done on liquidity risk measures on this. How the current research contribute in reducing the gap in mentioned area. If you notice, these are all points that I mentioned previously, which is not available in this paper. Okay, now we move to the writing review of literature. How to organize the literature review? You can organize in terms of methodology. You can discuss from the methodology perspective, or from regional perspective, or based on chronological, data range and sample, or agreement and disagreement. The basic rules for review of literature is always link your discussion with your research questions or objective. Discuss in detail for more important studies, link studies with one another, and identify and evaluate the gaps. Okay. An example is given here, an article submitted to Journal Ekonomi Malaysia. For the literature review, it does not review studies with related issues in order to identify and evaluate the gap. Okay, if you notice that for the literature review, the author here explain what is e-wallet, what is digital wallet, and what is e-money. In literature review, you should review studies with related issues so that you can identify and evaluate the gap. Another example here is insufficient review to identify and evaluate the gap also. Previous study is only one paragraph, so it is not sufficient to identify and evaluate the gap. Okay, now we move to writing research methodology and data. In writing methodology, state and describe methodology employed. If method is explained in other studies and well known, summarize the methodology. Explain how methodology help to accomplish research objective. List studies use similar methodology for support. Justify chosen methodology over other methods. Explain hypotheses to be tested. Detail out the empirical procedures for others to replicate. Note that you need to define each notation as mentioned as Prof. Zulkifli just now. You need to be attentive to detail in the equation. This is an example for the right hand side is the comment from the reviewers, and the left hand side is the table. This author used the outputs and inputs for their analysis in generating the efficiency. The comments here, I would suggest for the author to include other earning asset as one of the bank output in the current study because it is one of the major output of the banks. So here the author do not use other earning asset. So, but the reviewer feel that it is an important output for the bank. So the author need to re-estimate and find the data. A second comment is in output-oriented efficiency approach as currently employed by the paper, the employment of data on the number of personnel or labor or its expenditure is important. Thus, I would suggest for the author to consider it in bank inputs. Okay, another suggestion by the reviewer. Another example here is this paper used net stable funding ratio, right? And liquidity ratio. But there is no justification of using the traditional measure of liquidity ratio and the NSFR in measuring the liquidity risk. So there is no justification why the author use an SFR and why using liquidity ratio. Why do this measure use in this study? There is no discussion on this issue. Okay, now we move to data. You need to describe types of data, source, frequency, sample period, and sample size. Explain changes made on raw data. Provide descriptive statistics. In writing the results, you need to tabulate the results. For the interpretation aspects, identify patterns or features, link to theory or issues raised in introduction, explain the results, compare with previous studies, whether the result is consistent, it is new or different, and you need to justify. Note that the table should be self-explanatory. This is an example of a paper submitted to Journal Ekonomi Indonesia which has been rejected. So the table, you can see the table is not sufficiently explained and there is a mixed language. See 7 kali, 29 kali, 23 kali. So you need to check thoroughly your table, your article before submitting to any journal. Okay, another example here, the results. Yeah, from the table here, the comments from the reviewers referring to MLE estimation using output distance function. Theoretically, the values of inputs are supposed to be negative, and the output are positive. This is based on theory. However, the result here is in contrast to the theory. So the result also show a regress technology which is uncommon for a banking industry. So the reviewer suggests for a re-estimation. Or if not, the author need to justify why they have such results. For robustness, this is required for high impact journal, as mentioned by Prof. Zul just now. This is to have convincing result against alternative models in terms of model specification or method of analysis. The potential robustness test could be in terms of different sample, different method, different measures, or different model specifications. Okay, writing conclusion. You need to summarize research motivation, objective, and findings, state main conclusion, discuss implication of the result based on the findings, whether it support the theory, solve industry problem, help the regulator or policymakers, or help the society, and provide future research suggestion and avoid citation in conclusion. In writing references, only papers being referenced in the text should be included in reference list. Ensure every reference cited in the text is present in the reference list, or every reference in the list is being cited. Please do not miss any of them. References must be in the correct journal format and style. Okay, writing acknowledgement. This is an example of acknowledgement. If the research is funded, list the funding sources, mention the organization and the grant number. Okay. Writing abstract. In the abstract, you need to have a research aim, the methodology, findings, theoretical or methodological contributions or originality, and the implication. And please note that the number of words varies according to journal, but usually it's about 150 to 300. For GEM, it is between 150 and 200. The keywords, maximum number of keywords depends on the journal. Usually it's about 5 keywords for normal article. For GEM also 5 keywords. Avoid abbreviations except for those established in the area. For example, the foreign direct investment, FDI. Yeah. Okay, choosing title of the article, it needs to be consistent with your work, catchy and short, capture readers' attention, and avoid long title. Similar to what have Dr. Zul showed just now, the writing process, you need to write and rewrite, then you take a break, you review, then you rewrite again, then you ask your colleague to review and suggest, or your supervisor, and then you revise and you write and rewrite again and take a break again. So the process repeat. It could be up to 10 times or 20 times, but you need to have a deadline. If not, the process will continue unstopped. Okay? Okay. Before submitting, you need to prepare a front page information in a separate page for editorial review submission. It has to have the title, the author name, and affiliations. Affiliation refers to author's affiliation where the actual work was done. For example, if you are a student, your affiliation is Universitas 11 Maret. Even when it is published after your graduation, but the work has been done at Universitas 11 Maret. Your permanent address, your present address of the author, okay, may be different from the institution where the actual work was done. So if you have start working and your article is being published, so your permanent address is your current office, but your affiliation remain with Universitas 11 Maret. The corresponding author, all correspondence should, during drafting process, publication and post-publication will be handled by the corresponding author. In terms of the language and the writing style, poor language make it difficult for the editor and reviewers to understand. So it might lead to rejection of the paper. Manuscript must be edited. Professional editing is recommended before submitting. Mathematical equation usually is numbered and consecutively. Footnote and endnotes, number of footnotes or endnotes consecutively throughout the manuscript. If journal use footnote, it should be listed at the end of the article. In terms of the copyright, ensure that the submitted work does not infringe any existing copyright. Authors should obtain permission to reproduce or adapt copyrighted material, provide evidence of approval upon submitting the final version of a manuscript. In terms of publishing ethics, adhere to research and publishing ethics, write article based on the original work. The work of others is quoted and cited appropriately. More than one journal publication from the same research is generally not allowed. Author is only allowed to publish the paper elsewhere after receiving a formal rejection from the journal or after the author's request to withdraw the paper is officially accepted by the journal. Author must inform the chief editor of any inaccuracy of data in their published work so that correction or retraction of article can be done. The author is accountable for any shortcoming in the work. Okay, this is the article reviewing process. First, your article will be desk reviewed. It is handled by the chief editor or managing editor. If it is not desk rejected, it will proceed to double-blind review. Double-blind review is handled by assigned editor, okay, or subject editor. The editor then will send the paper for at least 2 reviewers to review a paper, and after that the reviewers will return the paper to the editor, and the editor will read the comment whether to accept, reject the paper as suggested by the reviewers, and whether the article is written to author for revision. If the article is written to the author for revision, the article is sent to the author and the author revises the paper. After the author revises the paper, the author returns to the editor, and the editor will go through the paper and decide whether to accept, reject, or return to the author again for a further revision. So that is the reviewing process. Okay, this is an example on how you should respond to the editor. Yeah, first you need to write a letter to the editor. Yeah, you can write the editor many thanks for your email and with the referee comment on the paper, and you mention your co-authors here and which journal that you have submitted, when have you submitted, last year or last month. And please attach a revised version of the paper, including a revised whatever revision that you have been asked to revise, addresses the concern raised by the referee. Below, we also provide a detailed response to the referee's comment. Okay, then you put all the comment into tables. On the right side, yeah, of the table is the comments from the reviewers. So you copy the comment one by one and put it in a table. So here, example, the reviewers comment on the left-hand side. Yeah, the number 1, authors did not provide any information on the size of Islamic banks compared to the conventional banks. In many countries, Islamic banks are small relative to their conventional counterparts. On the other hand, authors do not draw the reader's attention to this fact and its possible impact on efficiency scores. So this is the reviewer's comment. The response to the reviewer's comment is on the right-hand side. Response, we particularly thank the referee for these comments which have allowed us to substantially improve the paper. Table 2 has been modified to include data on the sample, average asset size, and output and input data by country and by bank type and in total. The new table and discussion of it therefore highlights that on average across the entire sample, Islamic banks are moderately smaller than Islamic banks, than conventional banks. So you have to precisely address the comments. Yeah, the revision have been made, but you still need to provide your comments here. Yeah, addressing the comments from the reviewers. Okay, so before starts writing, you need to plan. Yeah, what is your research question? Then you start writing. In planning, you should consider one key issue. Then you ask yourself, will this issue contribute to ongoing debate? Has it been done? And read previous studies and revise the topic. After that, you get feedback from your colleagues or your supervisor, and then you check whether data is available or is it feasible. For the research questions, you need to ask, can research question be answered using descriptive statistics? If it can be answered using descriptive statistics, then it is not a good research question. Yeah? Research question should not be too narrow or too broad. Do you have sufficient resources within stipulated time? Is data readily available? Does it match with your deadline? You need permission to do your research, and how long does it take? Okay, this need to be asked. Get feedback and discuss with your supervisor and potential co-author. Okay. Then, I thank you. Back to you, moderator.
Hello. Thank you, Dr. Mariani.
Stop sharing.
Hello, can you hear? Yes. Okay, you can just stop. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mariani. I think I have a technical problem a minute ago. Sorry. So thank you for Prof. Zulkifli and Dr. Mariani for a complete and clear material. For participants who want to ask questions, please able to write your question into Zoom chat box, or you can ask directly to our speakers. Use raise hand feature on the Zoom. So Professor and Dr. Mariani, we have some question for participant. Let me to read the first question goes to Prof. Zulkifli. Prof. Zul, there is a question from Fafa WNS. Thank you, Prof. Zulkifli. Do I need to send my article to a professional proofreader even though I use Grammarly to make sure my articles use good sentences? Thank you.
Okay. Okay, this is very general question lah. My experience, it depends on our level, your English level lah. If you believe that your English at par, okay, and you can use Grammarly, okay, because Grammarly is if you subscribe Grammarly Premium, I think that's actually enough lah. It's generally enough because it managed to check our Grammarly, and somehow Grammarly will suggest us to replace some word. Let's say maybe there is no link, maybe in terms of grammatical mistake, or the word is very hard to understand, whatever. Right? If you have budget, no problem. Right? You can use both. Okay, first let's use Grammarly. Then you have additional budget. Okay, you can outsource to any professional provider lah. Because if you target to submit in Q1, Q2 journal, English, the quality of the manuscript, I mean, in terms of your idea or English, very important. Otherwise, the desk reviewer will reject it according to the grammatical error.
Okay, that is my experience. Okay, so better if you have budget, you can use both. Okay, if you don't have enough budget, okay, you can rely on grammatical software, which is Grammarly lah, right? Because of course very costly, right? If you submit to provider, depend on the quality of provider. If you have more budget, you can employ very high quality like Elsevier. Okay, of course they will charge very expensive, right? Or American Journal Expert, AGE. Okay, so last time my experience, I spent close to 1,000. Okay, I submit to American Journal Expert. Not ringgit Malaysia, $1,000. Okay, $1,000. That equivalent to more around 4,000 ringgit Malaysia. We use American Journal Expert. Okay, so if you have low budget, you can try to find another provider at regional level. Okay, so in Malaysia, Indonesia, but of course, I don't know, maybe the quality is different now. Right, this is my comment.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Arzul. So we move to the next question from Asmarani from UNS. Thank you for your interesting presentation, Prof. I was thinking, do you think it's necessary for us to add the robustness check to our research paper? And could you explain to us how to use the good example data for our research paper? Maybe this question goes to Prof. Zul and also can to Dr. Mariani. So you can put answer.
Can you repeat the question? The first one?
Do you think it's necessary for us to add the robustness check to our research paper? And could you explain to us how to use the good sample data for our research paper?
Good sample data, eh?
Yes.
For your research paper. Dr. Mani, you want to start first or me?
Yes. How to use good sample.
Maybe I respond first. Later on, I pass to Dr. Mani. Okay, so in terms of robustness checking, now is it what called many journal that need researchers to do the robustness checking. Okay, I think last time not necessary, but now the new trend, okay, the new trend necessary, because the idea is to make sure that our baseline result is robust according to various specification. For example, you already done the estimation. Later on, you do another robustness check. For example, you can split the sample or add another variable or use another technique, different technique. In the end, your result is not robust. They cannot be. The result should be robust, okay? Because we conduct the empirical paper, right? So empirical paper, of course, we don't know whether the result is robust according to various assumption or specification. So that is what we need to do to make sure that when we change the sample or we split the sample accordingly, we add more variable in general, our main result is robust, which is not much different. So maybe not much different in terms of expected sign, for example, right? So expected sign is okay, consistent, right? If you change the sample, for example, later on, the expected sign change, for example, right? And your result is not robust. So our job, we need to explain why this happened. Okay, so make sure we done correctly robustness check, and in order to do that, you can follow some paper. Depend on your objective, okay, and of course depend on your baseline model. Okay, so you can follow any paper as a benchmark how to conduct the robustness check. Okay, in terms of data, okay, as I mentioned before, it depends on your objective. Okay, either your thesis focus on secondary data or primary data. Okay, for economic student, most of us we rely on secondary data, right? Okay, the secondary data, which is you can consider, for example, time series data. Okay, or you can also consider the firm level data. Okay, or maybe what you call time series, firm level. Time series, of course, you can use single country. Okay, single country perspective. Or time series, you can compare with another, for example, regional perspective. You compare Asian 3 or whatever, Okay, that consider time series data lah. Okay, for firm level, that consider you can combine time series and panel setting. For example, right, you want to study firm listed in, let's say, Bursa Efek Jakarta. For example, right, 500 company listed in Bursa Efek Jakarta. Or you want to study bank level data in Indonesia. Okay, and let's assume that each data or each firm or bank you manage to get, let's say, 10 years. Okay, now you can consider the panel data technique. Okay, so for your research project, you need to choose one. Either your thesis focus on time series data. You want to study, for example, single country perspective, or you want to study panel data. For example, in Indonesia, you have how many provinsi? 30 provinsi. Data, I think data no problem, right? You can get it from what I call Bureau Statistik, BPS. Indonesia, Jabatan Statistik or Department of Statistik. Indonesia, you have Bureau Statistik, something like that. So the data is, I think, available. Okay, that for secondary data lah. Maybe some of you focus on primary data. So meaning that you need to conduct your own survey. Okay, so when you need to conduct your own survey, so you need to prepare your questionnaire. Later on, you need to survey your respondent. Maybe your respondent, I don't know, maybe firm, maybe individual, and later on, you need to know how to analyze data using what I call primary data analysis. I mentioned before, you can consider SAM technique, simultaneous acquisition modeling, or factor analysis. So meaning that different data that need different econometric or different methodology. So you as a young researcher or what I call master student, you need to explore that. Okay. So depend on your objective. This is my comment or my suggestion.
Thank you, Prof. Zul. So Dr. Mariani, your turn.
For robustness check, for Journal Ekonomi Malaysia, it's highly recommended. If you have robustness check and your result is consistent, then it has high chances for the paper to be accepted. And for the good sample data, it depends, similar to what Prof. Zul has mentioned just now. Your sample data should be able to address the research questions. So that is what we call a good sample data. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Zul and Dr. Mariani. Next question is from Mulyanto. Dear Prof. Zulkifli, I'd like you to explain to us about how to develop a robustness test. Why does the robustness test become vital or essential in the journal? Thank you.
Oh, I think the same question.
Yes.
The same question. So I think we have addressed this. Okay, so now I think all journal required to do or to conduct the robustness test. Okay, I don't know, Indonesian, maybe Indonesia as well, right? Maybe some journal not required, but journal information, I mean journal citation in that journal, CIJ. If you target to publish in CIJ, that is Corporate Web of Science, and majority journal are required, okay, to have robustness checking, robustness test. Right. So as I mentioned, or Dr. May already mentioned, robustness test, okay, depend on our baseline model. Okay, what you want to show that if you change the, for example, assumption or the model, or you're adding more variable, you split the sample, whatever. Okay, so the result in general, not much different in terms of expected sign. Okay, but not necessarily you report all kind of estimation technique you have done. All right, my experience, I just explained a bit in one sentence only. I already done all kind of robustness check, blah 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 blah. Okay. And I found that in general, the result is robust. Okay, not much different in terms of expected sample blood. Then I put some footnote. The full results are available upon request. And for sure, nobody requests, but we have done. This is the standard in many journals. Okay, so the full result are available upon request. So far my experience, the reviewer or the editor never contact me. Okay, to because they want to check or double check my robustness test. But we as a researcher, we should be honest lah. We already done all kind of robustness test. Just get ready lah. Maybe in future or maybe later on they need us to prove, okay, whether we have done correctly or not. Right. Okay, because we use the data, right? We not focus on theory. If you use the theoretical part, no need to conduct the robustness test because you not play with data. Now we play with the data. Okay, because economic system is very complex. Okay, we change this sample, change this identification, change the assumption, that should be different. So our job is to make sure that our results are robust according to various specifications. Okay. All right.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you, Professor. We move to the next question. The next question is from Adinda Fitri. Hi, Dr. Mariani. Thanks for the very compact presentation today. Thanks to the committee also. I would like to ask about your previous slide about unique data set. Could you please elaborate more about it? Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. An example of unique data set is in banking, in Islamic banking, even in Indonesia, you have musyarakah and mudarabah, right? That is the equity-based financing. But the data is not readily available in the database. Okay, in the database, for example, in BankScope database or Fitch Connect, it is not available. So, not many researchers can access to the data because it is not available in the database. So, if you have that data from Indonesia, it is a contribution to the knowledge. You may have in the Central Bank of Indonesia, or you have to extract the information from the annual report of each bank in Indonesia. So that is an example of a unique data set where you can contribute to the knowledge. I'm not sure if Dr. Zul can explain, provide more example on unique data set in other areas.
Okay, for example, you have the large sample compared with the existing study, right? So that consider uniqueness of your data set using the large sample of the result. For example, let's say you want to study all firms listed in, for example, Bursa Efek Jakarta. Okay, 500 firms listed there, right? As compared with the study, maybe they not consider all sample size. Okay, the same thing. For example, you want to study the proficiency level. Okay, so maybe not many study use proficiency level about this particular field. So now you justify this is the uniqueness of my data by understanding the nature of all proficiency level in Indonesia. Okay, for example, you have 35 or 34 proficiency level. Okay, so this is a part of uniqueness. Okay, because to define uniqueness is not straightforward, right? So we define, okay, we as a researcher, we define the uniqueness of our data compared with the previous study. Okay, if you manage to what you call manage to explain accordingly and convince the reader, okay lah. So yeah, the existing study use the data set, blah blah blah. So of course there is some limitation, blah blah blah. Right? So now you convince the reader or the examiner. Okay, so this is the uniqueness of my data set. Using large sample, for example, maybe time dimension. Okay, you update. You use the high frequency data. If you, for example, you want to study stock market, right? Okay, stock market, you can use high frequency data, maybe per minute data, for example. If you, I don't know, if you manage to get actually the traders, okay, if you can request data from traders, they can give you per minute data, okay, or real time data. We call, okay. Some reflect the unique data in terms of real time data. Okay, real-time data. So this is another part of uniqueness. However, real-time data normally the fast-moving variable lah. We observe per minute, for example, stock market, bond, okay, bond market reaction, okay, per minute, for example, right? Because they are considered fast-moving data. Okay, I don't know your specialization. Any what you call any students specializing in finance? What finance, monetary? Oh, it was measuring in development economy. Ella, you're measuring in what? Finance or what?
Not sure, but yeah, I learned in finance, but not sure. My specialization in there. Still learning.
It depends on the nature of data lah. All right.
Okay. Okay. I also have a private question from Safira. Safira asked to Dr. Mariani and also Professor. Thank you for the insightful presentation. My question is, if regional economic research uses geography information system analysis tools and the scope of research use several regions in one country, is it possible to publish in an international journal? Because Scopus is very synonymous with large research scopes such as several countries. Thank you.
So we needed, you plan to use GIS, Geographic
Yes,
Information
GIS.
System technique. Okay, so this is considered a part of social science lah. Okay, social science natures. And for sure, many journal, okay, accept GIS tool. Okay, so you need to go through the database lah. Okay, because mine, of course, focus on economic journal, right? I use the econometric technique. So for those, let's say you want to use geographic information system (GIS), you can find journal that focus on another part of social sciences. For example, geography lah. Okay, geography. I think there are many papers. Okay, focus on any geography issue. For example, if you target Q1 journal, we have geography economy.
Yes.
Okay, geography economy, because last time I tried to submit my paper, they reject my paper because they not believe econometric tool. They believe on any geography information system approach, GIS approach. All right, so the selection of journal is very important. If you use GIS technique, never send to pure economic journal. For sure, they will reject it. You need to identify the suitable journal that suit with the theme. Of course, in this case, geography or the area lah. Okay, geography or area of study. I think geography and area of study, I think they accept GIS technique. Right. So never send economic journal, pure economic, for sure they will reject. Okay, because under social science, we have economic, okay, economic field, geography field, right, area studies. So we need to know the theme of each journal. Okay, never send the journal information. For sure, Dr. Mani will reject it. Or journal promotion. But you can try academica. Okay, academica, that not in that is Scopus, but in that in I think Web of Science. Ski. Emerging sources, sorry, I'm not sure. What's it? Academica. Okay. Academica in that in ISKI, emerging sources in that, which is the main theme is any study reflect to pure social science or humanities. So they accept paper, use all kind of technique except pure economic lah. Geography information system, they allow. You can consider.
Botanica, UPM.
Botanica. Okay, that multidisciplinary journal, right? Pure economic, for sure they will reject. Okay, you can consider multidisciplinary journal. Right.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Maybe Dr. Mariani, you want to add something?
Yeah, I agree with Professor. You should focus on the other than pure economics, such as geography, economy, or area of studies, That is my response.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there is a question from Mudir via Unila. My question is, what's the first step to enter the Scopus? Please also the procedure so that it can be published on Scopus, because we have a Q1, Q2, Q3, or Q4, and they have a different how to enter or how we will register the procedure. Maybe the simplest explanation from the Prof. Zulkifli or Dr. Mariani.
Okay, the selection of this one, as we discussed, so Scopus and WAS that consider citation index journal, right? CIJ lah, in which there is generally accepted. These two indexing is called in terms of that considered very reputable or high quality journal. Alright. Okay, so you are the beginner. Okay, you are the beginner. Okay, for sure you haven't experienced published in any WAS or Scopus journal, right? You are the beginner. Okay, so as a beginner, my experience, I start with any reputable journal first. And not go straight to the Q1, Q2. I start at any reputable journal first. So this is our learning curve, right? Our learning curve. We start with any reputable journal at domestic or regional level, for example. Okay, so if you can publish, that's okay. However, if you plan to challenge your skill, you should up. Okay, the standard. Okay, my plan is to publish at least Scopus. Right, Scopus, of course, very rank Q1 until Q4. All right. Okay, that's it, as long as Scopus. Okay, Q4 Scopus. So the best strategy is first you identify what journal you plan to submit. Again, this is the first strategy as a beginner. You identify what journal you want to submit. Later on, you study the journal. You study, okay. For sure, you need to know the journal theme, very important. Okay, for example, let's say you write economic issue. Okay, pure economic issue. Later on, you try to submit journal pengurusan. For sure, journal pengurusan, we reject because now they not accept economic or pure issue in economic. They accept any management issue. Okay, so the selection of journal is very important lah. Otherwise, they will reject your paper at desk reviewing. By assuming you already apply what we have discussed, your paper already solid. Okay, this is another step lah. Kan? Now your paper already solid. Okay, you have end product is very good. Your paper you already reread more than 20 times. My experience, right? I reread my paper more than 20 times. I confident. I submit to Q1, Q2. Okay, so we need to rewrite and reread until we satisfy. Okay, so for example, for my advice lah. Okay, you study the nature of the journal first. Then you try to read the article which is already published in that journal. For example, let's say you want to submit to Journal Ekonomi, right? You follow what Dr. Mani has suggested. Then you read one paper published in Jan. Then you study the storyline, the flow. The journal flow, the article flow. For example, introduction. We have discussed the best introduction. What you need. Okay, at least no need to have many paragraphs, right? I think we have discussed. At least you have 6 to 7 maximum lah. 6 paragraph is okay for your introduction. As long as you manage to explain the issue, motivation, the novelty, whatever lah we have discussed, right? This is the first starting point lah you need to do. Okay, later on, if you already confident, okay, your article, your manuscript at par and meet the general standard, okay lah, you can try lah to submit. If you believe that, wow, my article still below than average in JAM, for example, right? Follow the JAM, wow, very sophisticated technique, blah blah, right? But your paper, you just use simple regression technique, for example, right? So simple regression technique. So maybe in terms of selection and methodology, that not not generally accepted lah. At this moment, if you rely on simple regression technique, so you need beyond that lah. Okay, so many things lah, right? But for me, if you you are the beginner, my advice, maybe you start at any reputable journal first. Later on, from time to time, if you want to challenge, okay, you upgrade lah to Scopus. Okay, my publication not in the Scopus. My publication in that I think not in that, just reputable journal. reference journal, reference journal. Later on, from time to time, so we, of course, from time to time, we improve our skill, our writing skill, and then we try to target the what you call tier journal. Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Dr. Mariani, you will giving some your preference.
I agree with Prof. Zul. You start with the non-Scopus first. Once you are comfortable, then you go to Scopus and see which journal that publish related article to yours. Then you identify, you go to the journal and study the articles that have been published in that journal, and you take at least few articles and see and read many times and try to follow their style of writing, but not to plagiarize, but just to follow the style of writing, the steps and the procedures that they use to write the paper. So that is the initial steps, I think, that can be helpful.
But my experience, when I supervise my master student, I set KPI very high, minimum Scopus lah. Okay, but some of my students managed to penetrate Q2, Web of Science in Impact Factor Journal, Q2, Economic Research. But that did a lot of work lah. Okay, we reread more than 20 times. Then we can penetrate lah. The quality journal lah. So you can discuss with your supervisor. Okay, if your supervisor challenge you, okay, minimum Scopus Q3, for example, you know, Indonesia minimum Q3 for academic staff to promote, okay, to become the kepala or professor like Q3. So you can challenge yourself if you have capability lah, okay, because now very easy to conduct the research lah, because last time we have difficulty in terms of data collection, but now data is online. Okay, that saves our time. Okay, very easy to access all kind of material, journal article or whatever. Right? So now your job is try to strengthening your writing skill. Okay, in order to strengthen your writing skill, of course, that need learning curve. Learning curve is very important, right? Okay, so for sure you have strategy. Okay, to make sure your learning curve is in like you can speed up your learning curve. Right. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Professor and Dr. Mariani. Next question from Julia Henry Uni. Dear Professor and Dr. Mariani, do you have written paper in active sentence? Because Grammarly always suggests to write in active sentence. Thank you.
Active sentence. Okay, I think that generally accepted. When we write any research paper, we should use active sentence. Try to minimize passive sentence. Okay, that depends on our skill lah, mine as well. Sometimes I realize that very hard to use active sentence. Right. So I need to use passive sentence, but make sure try to minimize. But somehow when I use Grammarly Premium, I want to use active sentence. However, Grammarly suggests or rearrange, turn to passive sentence. That's okay as long as minimum level. Because academic writing should use active sentence lah. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
So your target to publish in Scopus or Web of Science? You all?
Scopus.
Scopus. Okay. Scopus.
Okay.
You can try in Indonesia. I think Gajah Mada lah, right? Okay, Gajah Mada in that is Scopus and is key, but very tough lah. Okay. In Malaysia, we have many journal in that in Scopus. Journal Malaysia, Journal Busan. Istimewa, we have 2 journal in that in Scopus. Okay, you see sign Malaysia, we have 3, many. Okay, in Singapore, I think more than 2 or 3 lah, in that is corporate as well, in economy. Thailand as well, you can send Thailand, University of Chulalongkorn, saja. Southeast Asian Journal of Economy. I published one paper with my master student. Okay, Southeast Asian Journal of Economy, University of Chulalongkorn. So many lah that you can consider. All right.
Okay. Thank you, Professor and Dr. Mariani. The participant, don't forget to fill the attendance list because we will share the certificate and also the material from the Professor and Dr. Mariani into your email. The next question, I have a question from the Agustin to my private chat. Agustin from Universitas Semarang. Is there a difference in the process of receiving journal between paid and unpaid journal? Which one should you use? Which one we should register our article for the beginners in the paid journal or unpaid journal? Thank you.
Okay, I think as I mentioned before, we as a researcher, we should to be honest. Honest means that we try to avoid, submit or publish any fake journal. Okay, how to know that? We need to go to the bare list. You go to the online, just like bare list. So bare list has provided, this is the all what I call fake publisher or fake journal. Why fake? Because there is no standard reviewing process. You can try. For example, you submit any journal under bare list. Okay, you submit. Later on, within 24 hours, they will respond. Okay, via email. Now your paper has been accepted. Okay, so you need to pay blah 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 blah. Okay, $500 as article processing, for example, for APC. This is considered paid journal. Okay, so we as a researcher we should avoid. Okay, but some journal they charge to us in terms of article processing fee, but not necessarily they are paid. Okay, because this is known. For example, journal index in good tier or ranking. For example, Taylor and Francis, right? Taylor and Francis, Emerald publication, Wiley or Elsevier. Okay, so if our article pass the review process, so they charge us article publication charge or APC. Of course, they need to pay to their what I call staff, right? That not consider fake journal because their we call reviewing process. Okay, you cannot argue. They follow the standard lah. Okay. However, if you have budget, no problem. My experience, for example, I publish in final research letters. Okay, so final research letters. If I want to publish this year, for example, okay, they charge me article. We call the gold what I call gold access. Yeah, gold access. They charge me per paper US dollar 2,500 per paper if I want to publish this year. So this year I published 3. So time 3. So I need to pay them $7,500 ringgit. Sorry, $7,500 multiplied 4. That equivalent to more than 30,000. So I not accept this offer because very costly. So I better to me to wait maybe 2 years or 3 years, I don't know. So to save government money, otherwise there is money outflow, right? Okay, from Malaysia to Elsevier. So I try to save the money. Okay, so that means the choice is that's what we decide. Okay, all right. So my advice to you all as a young researcher, try to avoid publish in any fake journal because you learn nothing. If you publish in good journal, so you will get the feedback from the reviewer. You know the quality of your paper. Later on, you can revise your paper accordingly. Respond all the comment. That is your learning curve. If you submit to fake paper, there is no learning curve. Okay. If you submit to the high quality or reputable journal, then you have very good learning curve that help you in future. Okay. All right.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Professor. Dr. Mariani, there is a question from Marliana. Doctor, how about the site reference journal? If I submit in Journal Ekonomi Malaysia, do I need to cite some some article from the Journal Ekonomi Malaysia? Thank you.
Okay. It is encouraged if you cite article from Journal Ekonomi Malaysia, but it does not determine whether the paper is being accepted or not. If you do not cite also, it is still accepted if the paper is good. So it is not a requirement.
Okay. How about the other journal? Is it same requirement like Journal Ekonomi Malaysia? Do we need to cite in each journal if we submit in there?
Actually, not necessary. We should cite because this is considered self-citation. Okay. For example, you submit to Journal Ekonomi Malaysia, then you cite Journal Ekonomi Malaysia. So maybe that's good to improve our impact factor. But actually, back to our reputation, if we receive self-citation, okay, self-citation actually not counted when they calculate our impact factor. All right. So if the editor board or editor request you to cite, okay, you can cite, but maybe at minimum lah. Okay, never cite 20 article from JAM lah, for example. Just like one, okay lah, reasonable lah. Because they will consider self-citation to that journal, right? Okay. Yeah, good journal, they will not request self-citation. That's a good journal. Only I don't say JAM is bad, okay, but good journal in general, right? Good journal in general, they never request to cite their journal because they're good, right? Okay, everybody cite their journal.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Professor Kifli and Dr. Marian. So this is the end of the question and answer. Thank you for the insightful presentation, Professor and Dr. Mariani. Thank you for all participants who joined in this webinar. In this webinar, we learn about how we can publish, how the tips if we submit in the Scopus journal. Also, we know about the review process and also why our paper are rejected or how we need to publish it, why we need to publish in Scopus journal. After this, hello Aya, are you in there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so thank you very much for all participants. I am Leleski Fauzia as the moderator. Will be sign out and I will give the time to Aya Akmulia. Thank you.
So I will email or WhatsApp material.
WhatsApp is okay, doctor.
All right.
WhatsApp is okay, Professor.
Example of my paper with my master student. Maybe you can follow our writing style. Okay, you can try okay, penetrate Scopus Q4 minimum.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Laila. For all the student and lecturer in here, don't forget to fill the attendance form that committee share on the chat box. And also to all speaker and the participant, we finally come to the end of this webinar. But before we end this webinar, I think it's time for us to take a virtually photo session. Then I would like to invite to all of the participants here to turn on your camera. Okay, I will meet you.
Who take the photo?
Yes, okay. Okay, in count of 3, please kindly give your sweetest smile. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, thank you.
All right.
My name is Aya Mulia. Thank you so much. On behalf of the entire committee, would like to send our gratitude to all speakers, Prof. Dr. Zulkefli and Dr. Mariani for the fruitful presentation today. We hope it can be beneficial for everyone. And lastly, thank you for the lecturer, Bu Ais, Pak Mulyanto, Bu Huni, and so on that already joined us today in here. Thank you. See you in the next event. Bye. Stay safe.
Bye. See you. Thank you very much for inviting us. Perhaps in future, meet you again.
Thank you, Ibu Mariani.
Bye. Send my best regard to Pak Irwan.
Panitia, Mbak Aya.
Irwan Nugroho.
Sure, bro.
Thanks, Professor.
Alright. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.